Hey everybody, how we doing? So happy Memorial Day weekend, and welcome back for another exciting segment of welding a bunch of crap together and grinding it off. So let's see what we got this weekend.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
Okay, so I've pretty much got this door all welded up. I've got this edge put in there, got it ground down, and I've welded across here, touched up a few spots, and I'm just kind of going along trying to grind that easy and get it to sort of flow with this. I'll tell you what, this sheet metal is different than the old sheet metal on that car. And it just does, it is so easy to get it too warm and to warp. Now, you know, this is a 91 and that's in the 60s. I don't know if it's just a formula they used to make the steel or what, but it just does not weld as nice as what the older metal welds. But a lot of you car guys probably know that. But we're getting there anyway. So anyway, I got the window motor out, got the window down, figure out the window motor is no good, and I don't know if I'm going to get another electric window motor, if we're going to put crank windows in this thing. But I did get the window down. I got the old visor thing out of there, and we're going to get all that paint ground off of this door. Oops. And then over here, I've got this welded all the way along here, and I need to go ahead and grind that off. But this weekend, I mean, pretty much all we're going to be doing is grinding that door down, getting this ground down. I'm going through here, filling in some holes. We're going to get those. I want to get this patched in. You know, I've got a lot of stuff going on for the holiday weekend, family and that, so I don't know how much time I'm going to get out of here. But just, I still want to do an update, even I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, so we'll just kind of keep up with it over the weekend, and then maybe Monday night we'll drop this thing. And maybe we start getting going on getting this weld in. You know, I got to kind of make a little piece here and a little piece here, and got a goofy gap there I got to fill in, and you know, weld all that. So there's a lot to do. My initial thought was do this side and then do that side, but I think I'm gonna do this side, get all this, and then just keep going that way. And I'm gonna get all the way to the end, and then do the other side. But that is where we are. So I'm gonna keep working on this, and we'll check back in a little bit after I get some of this ground down, some more of this welded up, and you know, you can see there's a lot of things I just kind of fudged together when I was just putting this together. I got to get all this boxed up somehow. Got a big old gap down there I got to get boxed up. But yeah, let me keep going on this, and we'll take a look here in a little bit. All right, so I got all the paint knocked off this thing, and got the door jamb over here, all the paint knocked off the front of it. So we're bare metal up to there. And the hinges. So what I want to do is I want to put the door back on before I box this in. I want to close that door and look at it from the inside and just see where the inside edge of that door lands. So I don't want to build anything that's going to interfere with it. So let's do that. Let me get the door on here, throw a couple of bolts in it, and we'll take a look at it. All right, needs a little bit of adjustment, but that's pretty good. Let's go around here, climb in this side and see what we got here. I've got all kinds of room. So we got all kinds of room here, we got all kinds of room there. And yeah, I can box this in straight across from here to here and still have plenty of room for that door. And in fact, door needs to go that way a little bit, but I'm still good. Okay, that's what I was wondering, how that was going to work. Yeah, that's good. I can live with that. Okay, let me open that door up. I don't know if we're going to have to pull that off to do that, or if I can just leave it open and do it. First thing I want to do is get that boxed in. I think with that wide open, I've got more than enough room to work. And yeah, it's looking good. Okay, let's open her up and take a look. Alright, so I pulled the door off just to give me a little more room to work here. And sliced my finger, which felt really good. So this piece I already had in there. It was further back. I just moved it, retacked it in there now that I know where it needed to go. And I'm going to make a piece for here. And I don't know if I'm going to like fully weld all this down into here. I might just spot it in a bunch of places and then put some rust sealer in there and then put some seam sealer in there, because you'd never be able to get in that corner and grind those welds. That'd be a pain in the butt. So I need to make that piece. I got this gap to fill, a little welding to do along in there. And I want to get that done and get the rest of this stripped and get this seam, this seam, this seam all welded up. And try to get all that knocked out on this video. And I think is that a cut? Yep, that's a cut. Need to fix that. Need to make a little piece for the rain gutter. But we're rolling along pretty good here. I'll tell you what, I'm going to knock off for tonight, get a bath, and there's a car show not too far away. I think we're going to take the Chevy out and go up there, so maybe we'll film a little up there. Alright, so that's it for right now. We'll pick this up in a bit. Hey everybody, so we're heading up to the show. I have not had this thing on the highway yet, and we're about only 20 miles away from where the show's at tonight. So we're just going to give it a shot. We'll take it up there and see how it goes. I've had it on the local highways, but I haven't had it on the interstate, so temperature's been good. We did a little local cruising last week, and it stayed cool, sitting in traffic, so we're going to give it a shot. We're either going to make it up there and have a good time, or we're going to come back on the back of a AAA truck, one of the two. I got my AAA card, so that's cool. So let's get this thing on the highway here and see how it does. I need to fix the gas station on this thing too. I'm like totally guessing how much gas it is. I guess my sticky thing on my camera's not holding. We'll have to deal with that later. Alright, let me get on the highway and we'll see how we do here. Alright, so far so good. I mean, temperature and oil pressure's good. I'm doing almost 70, but we can definitely tell this thing's got a 3-speed in it. It can almost use another gear. But it drives good. I mean, it's good and straight. Nothing's vibrating. Seems like it's happy at this speed, so I'm cool. Running smooth, you know, nothing weird on fuel injection. So, all right, let's get a little farther up the road. We'll take another look. All right, we're ratio power steering box on it, and it really works well with this 90s era Chevy truck power steering column. So, alright, we'll just keep on going here and we'll check in again about 10 miles as soon as we get there. Got some cool ones up here is the AMC row. Got a purple Grimmy. This thing's pretty slick. Factory 232. That one is really cool. And another Gremlin. How many times you see two Gremlins at the same car show? This thing is killer. Hey folks, how you doing today? That's an AMX. Oh yeah, 3-pedal action. Let's go take a look at it. This thing is killer. Big money sitting there. Alright, so we're heading back home. I didn't film a whole lot more cars up there because my battery's dying on my phone. So, but hey, hung around a couple hours, met a couple people to watch the channel. Dave and Steve. Appreciate you both watching the channel and spending the time to talk. So we're heading back home. We're going to finish up watching the Cardinal game, and we'll pick this video back up tomorrow, and we'll do a little bit more on the truck out there. So we're about halfway home. Temperature's good. No running issues whatsoever. So happy to say we made about a 50-mile round trip. So I think that's pretty good. All right, so we'll pick this back up tomorrow. Morning everybody. So it's Memorial Day, and I had every intention yesterday of getting out here and doing some work, but it just didn't happen. I went to church, came home, baseball game was just starting, so I sat in the recliner, watched most of the game, fell asleep for a while, went to a barbecue at my daughter's house, hung out with the grandkids, drove the Chevy around, came home, and that was pretty much it. So no work yesterday. So we're going to get back on this thing today, and let's see what we can get done here. All right, so here's where I left off. And I'm not going to show making every little piece and putting it all in there, but let's... today what I'd like to do, I got the whole day to work on this. I want to get this piece put in. I want to get that finished out. And then just more paint to strip here, hopefully get this welded up, and maybe get these seams. I don't know, we're gonna go as far as we can today. We got the whole day to work on it, nothing I got to do except maybe throw a few pork steaks on the grill for my sweetie tonight for dinner. So all right, let's get on it. I'll get a little bit of this done, and we'll check back in and see where we're at. Okay, so we got this capped off. We got all this trimmed off. I got a little blade under here. Got this ground off. Got that little piece in there. We're pretty much done right in here now. I'm not going to worry about fully welding this whole thing right now. Structurally, it's fine like it is. Ground a little bit on this seam up to here. So I've got more of this paint to knock off, and then we're gonna start welding all this stuff back here. But my welder has stopped working, and I don't know what's going on. Clicking. You hear the contact we're making, but the wire is not feeding. And I took the tensioner off, unloosened the tensioner, and the just not turning. So I really need to do a cleanup here. I got a mess going on. I'm gonna take this thing apart and see what's going on. It's got a temperature light there. There's a reset in the back, little reset button. I wonder if the motor overheated. It's not popped out. So we'll have to pull it apart and see what's going on. So, man, it's just like a year and a half old too. Maybe not even that, a year old. All right, let's see what's going on with it. All right, I got this thing opened up. Pretty basic stuff in here. So we know we've got a contactor in here. Where's it at? CR, I think, is contactor relay. It doesn't give you a legend of what's what in here. Here's our drive motor. Comes off of this control board, but it doesn't really tell you the voltage of the drive motor. I'm just assuming that's going to be 120. I would think, because you want some ass on that motor. You wouldn't think they would drive that with 24 volts. But it's possible. So I think the first thing we need to check. Let's take a look at this thing. There's a drive motor down there. It goes up to this control board. Here's our contactor. I can hear that contactor pulling in, but I don't know if those contacts in there, right there, could be burn enough that we're not passing voltage through that thing. This little thing could have gone bad. I don't think so though, because there's a control transformer in here, and your control transformer wouldn't have power to supply to the contactor if we weren't getting 120 into this thing. So let's just do a quick test and see how we're passing voltage through the contactor. Alright, so the little fan's working. So, we are bringing in the contactor and we are passing voltage through there. So we could have, that little motor could be smoked. I hope not. Or the control board could be bad. I'll tell you what, let's see if we can get a meter on that motor. And there's also a pretty good sized capacitor in here, but that looks like that's on the actual welding transformer. Alright, let's see if I can get my leads on this motor. And see if we're getting anything there. Without shorting anything out. There's not a lot to get on down there. This is aggravating. You know, I had that little cheap welder, that brand was that thing? I don't even remember now. I had that thing for years and it would never die. Okay. So, let's see if we get anything on this now. This is power to the motor. Nothing. Make sure it's not DC. Nothing. Alright, so I think that motor control board's gone bad. Because it looks like, if we come up, let's take a look at this wiring diagram again. Oops, knocking stuff over. Okay, where is our contactor? So we are C1, that should be contactor 1 contacts, I think. Well, no, that's not contacts. But here we're sending voltage to the board here. There's our 24 volt side to the board. RC2 9 and 10, we should have 24 volts AC going to. CR3 should be the coil for the contactor. So that kind of tells me this side of the board is working, I think. There's CR3's relay coil. There is CR3's contacts. So this is the control part of the contactor. This is the voltage side of the contactor. L1, T2 is a straight pass-through. That's your neutral. And then your hot, you're coming through here. And we've already verified that is working. It could also be, well, that's probably built into the wire feed control. Could be a problem with that. But the way it just quit, I kind of have my doubts. I wish I knew for sure what voltage that wire drive motor was. We just hook some direct voltage up to that thing and see if it turns. But I don't want to get it wrong and smoke that motor if it's not smoked. Alright, let's see. RC 9 and 10. RC2 9 and 10. It has to have 24 volts to the board or the contactor wouldn't be pulling in. And that all comes to this multi-plug. Well, I'm probably going to have to call Hobart's tech line and ask them what's going on. Here's a speed control right here. It could be that. But I don't see anything burned up. I don't see anything tripped. We're getting power to the board, so. All right, well, I'm going to call Hobart and kind of see what they say. And then, so what are we going to do on this thing today? I got no welder. I guess we'll clean up in here and I'll just knock a bunch more paint off this thing. So. And of course, I'm sure this thing's out of warranty. I think it only had a year warranty. All right, if there's a Hobart rep watching this, I'm not happy. Give me a call. Send me a new welder. Show me you care. All right, we'll check back in a bit here. Okay, we're back in business. So, of course, Hobart wasn't open today, so I just looked up online, and there's a thermal overload built into that board. And, you know, right before it quit working, my wire kind of got stuck. You know, stuck while I was welding, and I think it just tripped that overload. And I had to sit there and cool off. So, seems like we're okay now. So, all right, we're going to put this thing back together and get back on it. All right, so here is where we're stopping for today. I've got this whole seam welded and ready to be ground. Did a couple little fixes up there. I've got this seam all ground now. It's looking good. All the paint off that door jamb. Still got to go back through and finish welding this and grind that, but pretty happy with how far I got today. We already looked at this. This is good. So really, I get that same ground, and it's pretty much ready to put the door back on, and the door can stay on from there. All right, so this next week, I've got quite a bit going on. I'm helping a buddy put an air conditioning system, a heat pump, and a furnace in his house. So it's probably gonna be a few nights of doing that. And I got some band practice, so probably won't get back on this until next Saturday, and then we'll see what we can get done there. So we're pretty good here. My next goal is get this ground, and let's get finished back to here. So I got this seam to finish. I got a little patch there. We're gonna cut the lock out. I got a little patch there. Get all that paint off. A couple patches there, and weld all the way along the bottom of that door, and maybe weld all the way up between these doors. So we're cruising along. We're just heading that way. And all right, so that's pretty good for today. We'll go inside. We'll get a word from the Lord, and that'll be it for this one. Hey everybody, thanks for coming along today, and got pretty much done in the last few days, I feel like, even though it's kind of a lazy weekend. Sometimes you got to do that and take a break and relax a little bit. So rather than a typical Bible message today, I just wanted to recognize all of our veterans. I know today is Memorial Day, and we're specifically recognizing fallen veterans. But my dad was a veteran in World War II. And he was in the Battle of the Rhineland, I believe. So he had been awarded 2 Bronze Stars, and one thing that always impressed me about Dad, because I was born much later in his life. I was born in the 60s. But Dad was 21 years old and over fighting for our country, with my mom and 2 little girls at home. So, and you can just imagine being a guy that young and doing something like that. It's in today's society, it just kind of blows my mind. What people dealt with back in those days compared to just how good we've got it these days. But back on the subject of the veterans, even though my dad was lucky enough to make it back without getting injured, he carried the burden of that war with him, and I know it affected him in some pretty deep ways for the rest of his life. He was not one for talking about what had happened over there. He really didn't like to answer questions about it, but every once in a while he would just open up, and stories would come out of nowhere. There were a couple of times in my life. I know one in particular. He was talking about a battle they were in a small village. If I remember the details, and the Germans were like held up in this house across the street, and my dad's platoon was on the other side of the street, and for 2 or 3 days they were just shooting back and forth, trying to wipe each other out, get the best of each other. So apparently some American reinforcements came in, and they were able to help my dad's troop and get those Germans. But Dad said when he went over there and went into the house, that it was all teenage girls and little kids. It wasn't German soldiers. It was these kids that the German soldiers had left behind and made to fight. And I know that affected him deeply. He told me before, he said, some of the things I had to do during the war, I learned to live with, but some of the things I saw were the hardest to live with and still struggle with. And I know there's a lot of our American soldiers out there today who deal with that, with those same things. Now we know that there's a diagnosis for that. There's PTSD. Back in the days of the World War II veterans, and probably the Vietnam veterans and the Korea veterans, it didn't have a name. So there's more treatment available now than what there was. But you know, these soldiers, men and women, they didn't just give a few years of their life when they're in those situations. They even when they make it back alive, they give their entire lives, and you know, sometimes their peace and their sanity. So we need to really um, be have recognition of that, and what these soldiers go through, and just have a um, have a deep understanding and thankfulness for them, because if it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't have the things we have today. Have this wonderful free country, and there's a lot of military members in my family, my brother, a few of my sisters, nieces and nephews, brother-in-laws. So um, thank you for all of them, and for anybody who's watching this show who served, whether you served in wartime or not. We're just eternally grateful for your sacrifice. So let's have a quick word of prayer, and we will be out of here. Father, I thank you today for the men and women of our country who have had the courage and the selflessness to serve in our armed forces, and for that sacrifice that they give, not only in their time of service, but for many, many years after their service. And we thank you for the for the families who support them. And we just I pray today for all those veterans still living out there, and I pray for the families of the of veterans who lost their lives in battle, and are still dealing with that loss, and you know, wives who lost their husbands, and husbands who lost their wives, and children who lost their parents. And we just thank you for this wonderful country of ours, and that you have blessed us so much. And we just ask that you would guide us on the path to obedience to you in all things. We ask this in the name of our precious Son, our precious Lord Jesus. Amen. Okay, hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you again, veterans, and we'll catch you on the next one.